Hello everyone, this is Shokora Zouheikyoku aka chocomint, and welcome back to our Let's Play of Celestia. It has been a while since the last Let's Play and last romance with Los Solis, and now we will our next love interest is our good friend on the right side. And so let's continue. How you looked as though you wished to be anywhere else but there. I remember how you looked as though you wished to be anywhere else but there. That defiance in your relaxed, if reluctant smile as you led me dutifully across the floor. Parties and socializing were never your forte, but I loved the way you refused to run away from a challenge, no matter how small. Yes, I still remember the first time all those eons ago, just how it went in the celestial hall. Valandester catches my eyes at last. I expect him to smile, but instead he shakes his head subtly, as if to warn me from coming closer in front of so many people. No doubt he will be exasperated that I've chosen to dance with him and make a spectacle of his presence, but I cannot help it. I've missed him so. The grounds part as I approach. It's a sea of dresses and tuxedos and finery of the most lavish degree. But not Val. He dresses comfortably in clothes that look as though he would not care less about the significance of the situation. No, I sing his name rather than say it, excited to see my friend. Despite his tensed body, he says my name with the casual laziness that I'm used to. Dove. I embrace him warmly. Underneath my arms, his body stiffens for a moment, but I know it's his own paranoia that people will judge our closeness rather than displeasure I see in me. A few moments into the hug, he relaxes, his arms slowly slipping around my back. There's a quiet swirl noise behind me, but I ignored it. It's true that Vale doesn't rule over a star, but he is my friend, and I cherish him all the same. Besides that, it has been more than a century since I've seen his physical form, and I've wished to be able to embrace him in my arms like this for an age. I leaned back out of the hug. I didn't know you were going to come. I was so afraid that the invitation wouldn't reach you, but I tried to send you a signal anyway. He looks into my eyes with a smile that reaches them. Yes, I received your moonlit summons. He grins at me as he crosses his arms, leaning his back against the wall. Calling to me like I'm a servant in disguise. Who do you think you are, anyway? I push against his shoulder lightly. It was hardly a summons. If you bothered to respond, I would have known you were coming up by in advance and try to arrange something to welcome you. He lifts an eyebrow. Is that why I had so much trouble getting past the gatekeeper? Gatekeeper? I look at him, bewildered. Solis. He grimaces at the name. I frown. Lord Solis, what did he do to you? I called him a gatekeeper, didn't I? He acted as though my position as a celestial didn't automatically qualify for me being here. I look at him in surprise. Look, just because I hate being a celestial doesn't mean I don't know what benefits I'm entitled to. Being here to support you being one of those things. I I reflect on their celestial and how he caught me and kept me warm. It's hard to imagine him being cross when he was so jovial with me. I don't disbelieve Valandester, but I can't help but blood in protest. He seems so kindly though. Vale's smile is limited to his lips this time. The stars of his eyes glisten dangerously. He's lucky I didn't hide the stupid food where the sun don't. Hush before someone overhears you. I smother a chuckle. Val, don't be so terrible. Would you like me to speak to him? Val shakes his head in disagreement. Even though he might wish to apologize after, he laughs incredulously. The less I have to interact with that over-pompous son, the better. He looks at me for a long moment, his gaze softening. You look beautiful in the sky, but if I may say so, this suits you well, Dove. You look heavenly. I once add the bun to Val's straight line. Okay. Before I know it, the music's ended and we haven't danced a step. I don't think anything of it until Val begins to chuckle. I look around us and the dance floor is still clear. What's happening? Why won't they dance? Because the first dance belongs to you and you're spent it talking with me. Oh, I flushed lightly. Well, Valandester, may I have this dance? Not a chance, Your Grace. Instead of protesting, I simply hold out my hand and cannot fight the satisfaction I feel when he reluctantly grabs mine. The first dance of the evening completed, I look around the dance floor as it begins filling with people. It's my second dance of the night. As comfortable as I am with Val, I should dance with someone new. I see. Interesting. Let's approach Zouheikyoku this time. Wait, yeah. I start to edge toward the corner of the room, but as I back away, I turn suddenly as my back bumps into someone, my heels stepping on the front of their shoes. I'm so sorry. My words stutter in my chest at the sight of dark hair and darker eyes. Zouheikyoku. I breathe his name without a title. He looks at me in surprise, so I quickly correct myself, bowing to the prince. He is one of the eldest in the room and deserving of his title, but I cannot think what a shame that he does not mingle among the other guests. But perhaps that is better, because if he had, he would surely have noticed my eyes on him. Your Highness. He nods to me. Your Grace. He turns away, but I grasp the edge of his cape lightly. He stops at the same time as I do. Why did I reach out? I guess I may taking advantage of the moment, but behind me, hopefully, the music swells. Do you wish to dance? I do. He hesitates for a long moment, then takes my hands gingerly, leading me back to the floor. It's interesting. It's usually when I see her sprite, her she's look on to the right, but this time she looks to the left. Or what? Or did this happen before? I don't know, but It still looks really nice on her. Hmm. Hmm. At first, we move in silence, gliding across the room in fluid steps. I've got to say something. Surely he would think me strange for reaching out to him. So, he tilts his head as he looks at me. What do you think of Los Solis? You ask me. I hope I don't come across as sarcastic, but there is no one else. Oh, yes, of course. In that case, he twirls me delicately, then pulls me in, his hand resting on the small of my back. Los Solis is a good celestial, but perhaps he is too concerned with how he is seen. Do you think him vain? Vain? He seems to consider for a long moment, dipping me carefully before pulling me back into his arms. If his vanity extends only to his status as a celestial, then I believe that he is not truly vain. He merely wishes to live up to his position. It's not easy being the center of many words. I nod slowly. I wonder if he knows Val. I already know my friend well, but I'm curious about his opinions. What about? Excuse me? Valandester. He's a traveler, a shooting star who sometimes may pass through your quadrant of the galaxy. Zouheikyoku listens intently as he looks me in the eyes. The feeling is peculiar, and I can't help but feel that as he looks at me, we are the only people in the room. I have crossed paths with him, yes. He seems kind-hearted, but... I bristle, ready to defend my friend. But although his assassin eyes note the stiffness in my neck, he continues honestly. Oh, that's a nice... It's not exactly a smile, but I kinda really like his face. Do we? Be voluous. He does not seem to follow any guide but the wind. I nod slowly. He isn't wrong. Satisfied with my reaction, Zouheikyoku nods again. Those are my thoughts. Does anyone else interest you then? I am old enough to know most of the celestials in this room. I stare into his eyes, my reply still on my tongue. You. But I cannot make myself say the word. I stumble over my feet instead, but Zouheikyoku catches me easily. We don't move for a moment, frozen in the middle of the dance floor. I can only see him, and he can only see me. With that gaze, he draws my words out. What up you, Your Highness? There is nothing to know. He says the words softly, but not firmly. Except this. I stare into his swollen eyes, waiting for him to speak when I realize that this gaze is his reply. Unlike the bright burning light of Solar's gaze, Zouheikyoku's eyes swirl with black holes. It swirls bubble too, looks really beautiful. Swollen pools of nani, but still beautiful. Dying stars. Are you dying? He does not confirm or deny me. Instead, he smiles sadly, straightening me right away. He bows low, lower than he should for someone of his status. I enjoy this dance, Your Grace. I hope you choose your star well. When I can dance no more, I part from my partner, stepping away to think on our conversation. Let's run after Valanester. Okay, this is interesting because the last time the balcony was real, but this time the solace was real. So it depends on the meme you have chosen, huh? Like the first choice matters a little, and then the second choice also matters. It's for you to have choices, two choices to choose between that. In a sense, interesting. Let's go after Valandester, of course. I turn in the direction the veil stomped up into. The crowd has parted to let him pass, and briefly, I catch a glimpse at the back of his head among the wide-eyed faces of the other party guests. Biting back a sign, I grip the skirts of my dress and head after him. Many of the guests seem to have witnessed their confrontation, but now it has concluded. They are beginning to disperse. The music picks up again, diffusing most of the awkward atmosphere. I'm relieved to see other Celestials pairing up for their next dance, and despite their curious glance, they step aside to let me pass. It takes a few moments of weaving my way through the throngs of people, but I manage to gain on Valandester. Vil, wait! Vil! I try not to yell, but I need to raise my voice over the swell of music. Someone nearby startles, so I shoot them an apologetic smile. However, it works. Val stops. As I close the distance, I can see the tension in the way his shoulders are locked up. He pivots on his heel, coming to face me. His stern expression softens when our eyes meet. Dove, you should go enjoy your party while you still can. That's alright. I appreciate the concern. Without my favorite guest? Without my favorite guest? That gets him to chuckle, and I feel a rush of relief at the sound, smiling in turn. You're flattering me. Most definitely. To my judging, his smile is already dimming back into a frustrated expression. He lets out a heavy breath. I lost my temper back there. I hope we didn't ruin up your evening. I quickly shake my head. No, not at all. Belle gives me a warning look, as if telling me not to lie to him. So I shake my head in earnest once more. The rest of the party appears to have returned to normal after the momentary upheaval, but I can promise you that I'm telling the truth. But I reached out to touch his forearm lightly. Are you alright? What was that all about? He hesitates for a moment, scanning the room behind me. We're stopped on the side of the room opposite of the dance floor by windows overlooking a balcony. There are fewer people here, but a tingle on the back of my neck tells me exactly where their attentions are directed. I can feel a gust of night air filter into the room from the balcony, cool and refreshing. I look at Val, who seems to have the same thought. He says it aloud before I do. Let's get out of here. He holds the heavy velvet curtain aside, so we can slip down onto the balcony, and immediately I can see his shoulders relaxing. Surrounded by the glamour of the ballroom, he had the bearing of someone who belonged among the elegant crowd. Yet, as soon as we step out from the bright lights and the peals of music, it's as though I see a weight drop from his shoulders. He takes a deep breath as we walk across the balcony, stretching his arms out above his head. I'm content to be here too. The quiet night is soothing after the commotion inside. It's been long enough since I was able to walk among people that the sensations of the evening have been teetering on overwhelming. The breeze ruffles my hair, cools my flushed cheeks. It tastes unusually sweet, and I wonder whether it's always been like this, or if my physical form has a different appreciation for such things. Bill sits back against the balustrade, facing me. His arms are folded across his chest. Better? He hesitates, then knocks once. I've got no patience for events like this. Mingling with the Celestials? Not really my thing. After witnessing their argument inside, I can't say this new knowledge is a surprise. I brought my elbows on the railing beside him. Do you dislike other Celestials? That's not exactly it. Don't get me wrong. I think Solus is too quick to condescend and could probably stand to get knocked out of bed, but I like them well enough. It's difficult to read his expression in the dark, but I can tell he's wearing a deep skull, and when he speaks again, his voice is heavy with emotion. I just wish I wasn't one of them. The words hang between us for a long moment. I struggle to grasp the meaning behind them, to understand the pain and vehemence they are laden with. It's only been a few hundred years since I became one of them, and much longer than my human life before that. But a lot about them, about us, remains an enigma to me. This is the first time I've been confronted with such disdain for all kind. The confusion must be evident on my face, because Val frowns and attempts to backtrack. I don't feel like it's fair surrounding yourself to a lifetime of this. Giving up your life, memories, even your physical form to end up plummeting into the void of space for decades at a time. Having a body for a handful of days even now and then, and getting swept up in whatever courtly affairs the Greek cosmos have thought up. He waves his hand vaguely to the ballroom behind me, then seems to catch himself. No offense to your party, of course. Seeing you in that dress helps me appreciate all the bomb a little better. Do you really like it? Thank you for the compliment. A little better. I dust up an imaginary fleck of dust from my dress. I suppose I'll take it. No, I meant it's not a little. He shakes his head, and I'm filled with delight when I realize I managed to fluster him. He's quick to recover, however, smirking at me. Why did I thought of flirting as why did I read it as flirting? Whoops. I think you look beautiful, and I also think you know that. Perhaps I just enjoy hearing it. And I'll make sure I say it more often. Grinning to myself as I wave him off, I look at the dark courtyard below. Despite the brief levity, his stiff posture tells me that he's still upset and right then. It dawns on me that this is a golden opportunity to understand my friend even better. Quietly, I ask the question weighing on my mind. Do you regret it? Becoming a celestial? He huffs out a long breath, running a hand over his face. That's just the thing, isn't it? I don't know. Whatever my life was before this, I don't even get to remember it. I feel like this decision was forced on me, and it's not fair. I wish I could have my humanity back. There's something very vulnerable in the way he says it. All of the anger draining out of him to be replaced by a quiet sadness. It makes my heart ache unexpectedly. I get where he's coming from. Becoming a celestial is a great privilege, sure, but the price is steep. Lord Solus mentioned that I sacrificed myself to save my people, but that just means that any family or friends I used to have must be gone by now. I don't even know to mourn them. Still, this planet is thriving, and what I've seen from my vantage point in the heavens is proof enough that my sacrifice that was the right one. I believe it, and not just because I had no choice but to. I only wish Belle could believe the same. I tried to think of something to cheer him up. Reaching my fingers, I consider. It's possible that the life you left behind was an unhappy one. I know I've said the wrong thing when he lets out a bark of humorless laughter. It's possible, true, sure, but I'd rather be the judge of that. I understand. My reply comes out as small as I feel. Nothing more to say. I lean on the balustrade, feeling the stone's chill sip under my skin. The night suddenly feeling a lot less bright, even under so many distant stars. Bill rests a hand on my shoulder. Iluna, I'm sorry. Keep being a wet blanket and ruining your evening. You haven't done anything wrong. You deserve to enjoy your party, and I should stop being such a mood killer. You're not a mood killer, Val. I am, though. This is your special evening, and here I go, taking my frustrations out on you. You really don't need to worry about me, though. I just let Solus get under my skin. I know the smile he's given me is meant to be reassuring, but it doesn't convince me. I bite my lip. He squeezes my shoulder for a moment before letting go. You should head back inside. I'm sure a lot of people still want to dance with you. I'll move with my soul again somewhere else. No, it's okay. I want to stay with you. Vale shakes his head, a small smile curving his lips. It doesn't reach his eyes. Don't worry about me, Elena. Go enjoy your party. We got 10 days in these parties, right? So I'll see you again in the coming days. I want to argue, but he pushes off the balustrade, retreating as he replies. There's actually something I need to take care of. A work thing. No rest for the wicked, eh? He bounds with a flourish, much too deeply for it to be entirely genuine, and winks. Good night, Tykeeper. Then he vaults over the railing and disappears into the darkness below. I stare at the spot he occupied just a moment ago. Suddenly, the night breeze feels colder. I suppress a shiver as I turn back toward the ballroom. Good night, Val. I return to the ballroom a few minutes later. though I can't muster my former excitement. I tell myself that I'm simply exhausted from all the festivities. It makes sense, and especially after such a long time spent alone. And yet, I can't keep my thoughts from dropping to Vale every so often. I don't believe the excuse he gave me. He just seemed eager to leave. As the hostess of the party, it's hard not to feel like I felt somehow. I know Vale and Sola's argument was not my fault, but I wish I'd been able to prevent it. I mingle with the remaining guests and exchange a few more dances, but none are as entertaining or as bright as their first dance with Valenester. As my legs start to grow weary, I notice that it's getting harder to stifle my yarns. Ah, I've forgotten that physical body's tired, and thankfully I'm not the only one. Gradually, the ballroom begins to empty. When the final group of people leaves and I'm able to retire for the night, my relief is nearly palpable. I kick out my shoes as soon as I've closed my bedroom door behind me. My head is buzzing with the events from the night, and my entire body feels weak and sore. As I crawl into bed, my last thought is to wonder if it's going to be easier tomorrow. When I eventually stir awake, it's hard not to burrow into the downy pillow and let myself nap for a little while longer. My legs are still aching from the last night's dances, and my nest under the blankets is nice and toasty. The sweet smell of lavender wafts from perfumed sheets, tying me further to the mattress. I've forgotten how good it felt to sleep. The time I have to enjoy the physical pleasures is rather limited, however, and I can't spend too much of it sleeping, as tempting as that may seem. I rally my strength and venture out of bed. While I'm getting ready, I contemplate what the day ahead holds. I have no agenda that I know of, at least, and last night no one mentioned any outstanding engagements. I hope I have not missed something. I would have been informed if there was anything. More time to relax then? If I have a full day to myself, I'm definitely not going to complain. It's been so long since I last had a real break, and I'm glad that I can take the time to explore the place. I'll try to make the most of it. After getting dressed, I wander into the dining room. I don't see anyone, but there's food laid out on the table. Fresh bread, salt butter in a little bowl, various fruits and nuts. It seems that the bread is still warm. I make short work of breakfast. I'm in the process of eating a final slice of fruit when someone else enters the room. With a start, I realize it's Lord Solus. I stand up in a rush and curtsy, trying to discreetly swallow my bites. Lord Solus, thy keeper Ilona. He gives me a equally formal bow in return, one arm folded across his chest. His movements are elegant and precise, with no suggestion that he might be uneasy in his body. I wonder if I'll get used to the transformation between celestial and human form in time. I've not disturbed your meal, have I? Not at all. I had just finished. Excellent. He smiles so brightly that I nearly have to swoon at the sight. I was hoping I might speak with you. I push my empty plate away to illustrate my point. What is the matter? He straightens his jacket as he considers. I sweep in across the room. I chew the inside of my cheek as I wait. I just wish to ask, did you enjoy yourself last night? Well, this isn't quite what I was expecting. I'm grateful for the organization. The ball was a delight. Of course I did. I gave him a wide grin. Such a luxurious party in my honor. What is there not to enjoy? You need to be careful, my lord, lest I start enjoying the attention too much. My reply seems to surprise him, because he blinks at me a few times before regathering his composure. His cheeks light up with redness, telling me right away that he is not one to be teased. Or perhaps such actions make him even more teasable. Lord Solus finally replies, his expression stiff, perhaps because of his embarrassment. The attention suits you all too well, Zouheikyoku. Solus' soft expression lingers for another moment before he begins to say something. He hesitates, frowning, before he tries again. However, that is not all that I wish to discuss with you. I believe I owe you an apology. I stay quiet, waiting for him to continue. To lose my temper in such a manner and put you in a position where you needed to mediate, and at your party no less, was below me. I am deeply ashamed of myself. I think back to the night before to his and Val's conversation and how upset Val was afterwards, how abruptly he departed. Your friend and I have had our disagreements for a long time, but it was impermissible to let them take over in such a manner. I can only hope it didn't negate your enjoyment of the evening altogether. He finishes with another bowl, hands clasped behind his back. His eyes, wide and apologetic, never leave mine. Thank you, Lord Solus. It's hard not to waver under the sincerity of his gaze. This is clearly important to him, so I'm determined to articulate myself. I appreciate your apology. I would be lying if I said that your argument didn't upset me, but I can assure you that I enjoyed my evening regardless. He nods to himself as he straightens. If he's dissatisfied with my response, he doesn't show it. Thank you for your honesty, Zouheikyoku. I will do my best to make up for it in the coming days. Please don't worry about it, your Lord Solus. I assure you there are no hard feelings. I do have to ask, though. Yes. Why is it that you and Val argue so much? His reprehensible trust and blooming aside, I consider Valandister attitude toward Celestials, if I may be honest, distasteful. He abandoned his position in the galaxy because of personal reasons, as though becoming a celestial is some sort of punishment. He wasted his ability to do good for his people by leaving his former position. Position? Before I can ask for a clarification, Solus has already begun shaking his head. I take a lot of pride in my role as a celestial and looking after the people in my care, whereas Valandister, he draws up, pinching the bridge of his nose with delicate fingers. Well, he offers me a tight smile, the kind that's meant to conceal true feelings. Let's just simply say we cannot see eye to eye on the matter. There's a period at the end of his sentence that I cannot reach. And immediately I know he's not going to divulge any more on it. I understand. I'm sorry you two disagree so strongly, but if it helps at all, I think very highly of you both. After all, their argument aside, you planned very well and I look forward to my time on my word. You're too kind. Clearly unused to praise, Solus lights up, then attempts to dispel his own awkwardness by clearing his throat. I've taken up enough of your time. I hope you have a pleasant remainder of your day. Thank you. The same to you as well. With a final bow, Solus departs. I watch him leave, considering everything that was said. I wonder if there is a way to bridge this gap between between him and Val, or whether their viewpoints are truly irreconcilable. Can I do anything about it in the short time I'm going to spend in their company? I can only wonder. Sometime after breakfast, I find my way into the dark gardens. It's a little chilly, but I don't mind. It helps chase up the remainder of my drowsiness. I close my eyes for a moment. The wind brushing its cool fingers over my face and through my hair. The scent of freshly cut grass. The pinpricks of goosebumps on my arms. Did it always feel so intense? Or is it the century I spent removed from my body that makes me so sensitive? Either way, being alive is amazing. I head down a gravel path that leads me deeper into the castle grounds. My walk takes me past rose bushes, patches of daffodils and tulips, and through a meadow speckled with bubble blossoms I don't know the name of, but that I have seen blossom, wither, die, and blossom again come spring. As I go, I collect a modest but beautiful bouquet of aromatic flowers. I can't resist pressing it to my face and breathing in the vibrant scent. It doesn't take long for my legs to tire. Thankfully, I spot a gazebo nearby, its roof threaded with blooming vines. I sink down on the bench beneath it, splitting out my flowers at my side. It feels good. Enjoying yourself, too? That sudden voice right next to my ear gives me a start. Phew, you scared me. He laughs heartily and hops over the backrest to join me in the gazebo. Didn't mean to startle you. You look so happy and peaceful that I couldn't resist messing it up. I make a noise of notice. You didn't mess it up. I find your company too welcome for that. The smile he gives me in reply is warm and relaxed, his eyes glowing with his contentment. If I didn't know better, I'd think he'll never been angry last night. I thought you left. He lifts his shoulders in a nonchalant shrug. I came back. I get too much too little time at this farm now to enjoy myself. I mean, not being in charge of a huge store means I have a little more physical freedom than you, but still. Besides, I was hoping I might run into you. The intensity of his gaze drained on mine makes my cheeks blush. It's as though he's trying to divine what's going through my head, and it takes all my effort not to look away. And what's that? Do I need a special reason for wanting to see my good friend? His confident expression wavers for a moment and he bites his lips. And in all seriousness, I wanted to apologize for last night. I realize I've acted like a fool. And that should be a good pause to our playthrough of Celestia for now. It ends up a cliffhanger of Belle's apology, but we do see a little bit of the beginning of Belle's sprout. So we have a little dance, the first dance with Val, and another dance with Prince Sakha, which is also very nice, but also hints of something sad. But we're not wooing him right now, so it's alright. The sad will come eventually in his route, but I hope not. Val and Solus has a little bit of conflict that we don't know about. Maybe we will learn about it in the future. And that should be it for our playthrough today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next playthrough of Celestia Bear Sprouts. Bye bye!